By the time you've finished watching this video, around 17 people will have died from COVID in India. This is a warning to the rest of the world. COVID is not over. The dead are piling up in the street, waiting for cremation. And this time, many of the victims are much younger. In a country of more than 1 billion people, those in cities struggle to keep their distance, while millions in rural areas don't have access to emergency care. And yet some still continue to celebrate religious festivals and attend political rallies held by the Prime Minister and other parties, while the spectre of a second wave lurked on the horizon. Now, with more than 220,000 official deaths, and the real number expected to be much higher. Where does India go from here? In the capital city, New Delhi, people flock to hospitals for oxygen, but even they are running low.
75%
Some desperate families have resorted to stealing whole canisters, while others queue to buy them for hundreds of dollars on the black market. But many poor people don't have that luxury. There's outrage that the rich are buying up oxygen and hospital beds, while the poor feel they're being left to fend for themselves in a crisis beyond their control. Anita believes her low status led to her husband's poor treatment in hospital and ultimately his death.
इनको बोलें बताएं आप
मेरे 32 ये पढ़ा लिखा इंसान है, जिसका काट मिला हुआ है, अपना में है, उसका वैल्यू है, उसका कुछ नहीं हो सकता है। मूर्ख अगर मैं पढ़ा लिखा था, मेरा कोई साथ रहता तो मेरा आदमी आज दिन नहीं देखने पड़ता मुझे ये लेके।
In New Delhi, they're running out of space for funeral pyres. Hindus cremate their dead outdoors in the hope of a swift release of the soul. But nothing happens quickly here anymore.
और मैं यहाँ 12 वर्ष हो गया, मैं यहाँ अंतिम संस्कार करते हुए, और ऐसी स्थिति हमने कभी नहीं देखी जो आज ये कोरोना राक्षस जो है ये हमारे बीच आके तांडव कर रहा है। यहाँ गाजीपुर शमशान घाट में जो है 100 से 150 बॉडी रोज आती हैं, जो अंतिम संस्कार करने के लिए जगह कम पड़ जाती है। बहुत बुरा हाल है। यहाँ कार्यकर्ता 10 से 15 हैं, डेड बॉडी एक साथ में 20 से 50 तक हो जाती हैं, तो उनका अंतिम संस्कार आदमी जो है बहुत परेशान रहता है यहाँ पे।
And the bodies just keep on coming. 18-year-old Moin Khan, known as Lucky, works day and night bringing bodies from hospitals to the crematorium.
दिन में आप वैसे कितनी बॉडी ला रहे हो?
दिन में रात में 24 घंटे चल रही सर बॉडी।
तो आप कितने चक्कर लगा रहे हो?
लमसम चक्कर लग जाता है 20 हमारा।
20 बॉडी लाते हो।
India is often referred to as the world's pharmacy due to its vaccine production capabilities. But the country has shipped 66 million doses worldwide, leaving its own people wanting. It's one of the biggest crises India has faced since independence, and many feel the poor are just being abandoned.
Such is the disdain. It is disdain, and I use that word because that is the word I mean. Historic disdain, hidden in this thing we called caste. What is caste? Looked at closely, caste is nothing but racial looking down upon the darker skinned. It doesn't matter whether they live or die. And the numbers are just staggering. I mean, forgive me, but how can it be that they are the invisible, that they are the unwanted? They are the ones who will suffer COVID.
In January, Prime Minister Narendra Modi publicly declared India's victory over COVID-19. But now in Kolkata, 1 in 4 people who take a test receive a positive diagnosis. Accused of focusing on politics instead of the pandemic, this week Narendra Modi lost the key election battle in West Bengal. After holding huge rallies in the region, it reported a 9-fold rise in COVID cases, the largest spike in India.
The hindsight is very illustrative, but yes, obviously we had not anticipated the level and the sharpness with which this second surge would take place. But I think if you look at the overall picture, India has done many things very right. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the mortality rate that is a fraction of the UK and other countries. But obviously, we haven't got everything right, and I acknowledge that. So there's no need to belabor that point.
Across the country, large-scale events have taken place against the official advice to stay at home. In Prayagraj, Hindus celebrated the coming of spring with a holy festival. But what actually came was a second wave of the virus. And there were similar scenes at the Kumbh Mela on the banks of the Ganges.
आप इतनी दूर से आए हैं तो आपको मतलब कि इतने सारे लोग इकट्ठे हो रहे हैं और कोरोना फैला हुआ है, आपको डर नहीं लगता?
कोई प्रकार की डर नहीं है, कोरोना है ही नहीं। हम नहीं डरता, हमारे तो भोलेनाथ जी है, हम नहीं डरते इस बात से। डरना पब्लिक को चाहिए, मगर ये वातावरण अच्छा है।
Bathers were supposed to be tested beforehand, but the lack of social distancing led to thousands of COVID cases. 70% of India's 1.3 billion people live outside of cities, in rural, often remote areas. Here in the village of Sigri in Uttarakhand, there was once a sense of denial about the virus. Not any longer. People don't have cars here, so bodies are carried by hand up dirt roads or tossed on the back of rickshaws because the ambulances haven't arrived. It's a long struggle to get people to hospitals and COVID clinics. And in rural India, there's no health infrastructure. Back in New Delhi, hundreds of people are dying from COVID every day. Another statistic among the countless numbers we've all heard over the past year. But with each death, another family is left behind. This father lost his 27-year-old son to COVID and now must find a way to care for his 4-month-old grandson.
किसी ने कुछ नहीं करा, ताले लगा रखे हैं सबने, बुरा हाल कर रखा है एकदम। मेरे बच्चे ने मेरे हाथ में तो जोड़ा तोड़ दिया। एक ऑक्सीजन के पीछे खाली जवान बच्चा है मेरा भी।
The second wave of COVID crashing over India is expected to peak in the next few days. And with other countries now sounding the alarm, it's hoped this new wave doesn't turn into a tsunami that will surge into neighbouring countries. But that would be little consolation to those whose lives are already ruined by COVID-19.